Welcome to Gridiron Gamblers here on Pub Sports Radio. It is week 7 of the NFL season, and I did not have a good week last week. It hurt me, and then I lost money live betting the football game last night. And then when I go to my notes only say Broncos and under.
Was that a parlay?
Broncos under was all I wanted to do, but I watched the game. I'm like, hey, they're moving the ball pretty easily. Look, the total's getting kind of low, and then I'm like, look at how bad the Chargers look with Lindsey out. There's no way the Chargers can win this game. Like, we get to where I'm like, they're just not going to win this game. So I make a nice size bet on the Broncos, and it all falls apart. So I'm a little angry. It's been a long day of capping, and how are you doing, Andy?
I had the opposite experience last night. I ended up having to make some content for something, so I had to have a bet, and I'd leaned Broncos all week. I was pissed I didn't get the best number. Ended up taking some 4.5, and then at halftime, Drew talked me into trying to middle that with Chargers -3. It was a tightrope walk, but honestly, just fuck that game. I won 2 bets, and I still just hated every minute of that game. These overtime games that have been horrible. There was no first downs in overtime. That's the point we had gotten to. It's just like the game was over by attrition. I'm still not sure that was like legal. Like, he knew what he was doing, where he just shoved him into the returner right when the ball was going to get there. Like that's what I was fine with it though. I was like, if that's what it takes to get this over with, let's just do that. So, well, on to next week. Bigger and better things.
Yes, Russell Wilson, 15 passing yards in the final 2 quarters of that game?
Now he's hurt.
Now he's hurt.
It's a pretty significant injury they're worried about now.
Yes, I read the word significant as well. I just made some mistakes last week. It wasn't all bad, but I opened on the Thursday nighter. Very late, I took the Washington-Chicago over 38, which just was horrific. And I was at a poker game, full poker game with 8 guys waiting, all comics. They all know I'm on the over, and they just hammered at me the whole entire fucking game, nonstop.
It makes it easier.
Making fun of me nonstop. 49ers first quarter and first half. You were on the Falcons +6. Great call. The market moved so heavily against the Niners, and I still was like, no, Shanahan will be fine early. That was loss. Patriots +3. Patriots team total over 19.5 was very easy. Colts -2. I thought I was on my way to a push. I got the casher with that late touchdown strike by Matt Ryan. Dallas, Philadelphia under 42. That was fine because I made it back with the under 44.5 and the under 46.5 live. And then the one bet I made right before the kickoff on Sunday was the Ravens first half -3.5. And I didn't want to take the 3.5. I wanted to be involved with the Ravens, and they dominated the first half. They completely dominated the first half, and then I lose that bet. Andy, you cashed with Falcons +6 and New England, Cleveland over 42.5, both beautiful. The Jets, Packers over 46. That Packers offense, I can't wait to hear you talk about them.
I was mad at that one. That one got me angry. If you'd told me the Jets scored 27, I'm pretty happy with my bet in that one. That was I'm super mad at Aaron.
The Bucks -2 and the Jags +8. The teaser. I lost on all of my survivor pools with the Bucks, and we're talking like down. There's so few people I'm up against left, and I'm done.
Survivor, and then, it was a bloodbath Survivor week, Jimmy. There's only like 350 people left in the circa, out of 6,000 some entries. So it was and the Panthers were leading at one point. Later in the afternoon too. That was a holy shit. We're going to be down to 100 teams left. It was a wild one.
It was disappointing. And then Buffalo, KC, I imagine when you saw each team drive into the red zone and turn the ball over, you must have seen the future there.
Yeah, I was not the start we needed for that one. I don't hate this look by Birdie here.
That is where we stand. Shout out to all you guys joining us. Alex Ramirez, Star the Spidey, play today first in the chat. Viper NB says, what up, fam? Sky Dragon says, I believe in Bailey Zappi. I believe in the Patriots aerial attack. I believe in the Patriots rushing attack, and I believe in the Patriots defense. I love that. Zappy, I mean, the stats on Zappy, and we're going to go through each and every one of these games, but Zappy's stats are spectacular right now. If he qualified, he'd have the highest quarterback rating in the league. Sammy Comer, Terry Walker, Mac Beaver says Broncos have the ball, no T with a chance to go down to kick field goal and win. Let's just run it twice up the gut, and everyone here to Venus knows we're going to pass on third down. Yeah, it's a very, very, very disappointing. Very disappointing. Birdie ready to get to work. We have RVD 420, Mac Beavers, Papa Calls, Terry Walker, and look at Sky Dragon sitting. Is that the Patriots at 110-1 to win it all, I believe? That's a thing of beauty. What's your Zappy Rookie of the Year?
100.
Oh,
I regret not going back later in the year once it was clear, other things were happening in the Rookie of the Year market. I found some 150s. I'm like, I should tickle it again. I didn't. So, but honestly, who knows? He might never see the field again. Like, it's just so few answers to questions when you get Bill Belichick pressers. Like, honestly, no, I don't even know why they even have him anymore. He's not going to answer any damn questions, guys.
There is Sun Dizzle joining us. Saturated says Bucks failed me too. Coin liking Jacksonville under 42.5, Washington plus 5.5. Curious on our thoughts. And Saturated says everybody hyped for my Bears versus Pats on Monday Night Football. Look, I'm excited to see Zappy play. I hope I get to see Zappy play again. Let's get right to work here. Andy, my man, thank you guys so much for joining us. And Sky Dragon says if Mac Jones starts, I take everything back I said.
Yep.
I like it. All right, let's get to work here. Let me just move my odds over to NFL. Ooh, this was a long one. There's so many moving parts, and then you got the teams coming back from the buys, and you need to figure out who is healthy off of the buys, and that shit takes some time. Took a lot of time. Let's get to the Thursday nighter. New Orleans Saints 2-4, 1-1 on the road at the Arizona Cardinals, 2-4, 0-3 at home. We're at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. The Cardinals open up as minus 2.5-point favorites. They are now 1-point favorites, a 1.5 move towards the Saints. From a totals perspective, it opened up at 46 and has dropped to 44.5. Again, these are pinnacle openers. Go over to the cash flow in this one. On the Thursday nighter, we have 7,590 tickets in, 45% of the tickets and 63% of the cash on the Saints. That all makes sense. Market's moving towards them. And then 70% of tickets, 79% cash on the under. That all makes sense. It's gone from 46 to 44.5. So everything is pretty simple here. The sharps or the bigger bets are coming in on the Saints and the under, and the market is moving in both of those directions. Saints come in off a 30-26 loss at home to the Bengals. They led 17-7 in the first half, 23-14 in the third quarter, but couldn't hold on to the lead. It's so difficult to cap this football team. They're playing without Landry, Michael Thomas, and Olave with the concussion. Andy Dalton was at quarterback. We're expecting Jameis Winston to be back behind center. He's not played in 3 games while recovering from back and ankle injuries. He was in uniform against the Bengals. That was the first time he was in uniform. Olave's not on the injury report. So as of Monday. So we expect him to be in the lineup on Thursday. Kamara ran 19 times for 99 yards, caught 6 passes for 25 yards. As a team, the Saints ran for 228 yards. That's their second straight 200-plus yard game on the ground. That's the third time it's happened since 1990. Traquan Smith caught 3 passes for 43 yards. Juwan Johnson caught 4 for 41. The defense just couldn't get stops when they needed them. Demario Davis had 9 tackles and 2 sacks. Lattimore was inactive. He's dealing with an abdomen injury that he suffered against the Seahawks. He has not practiced since the injury, and we are not expecting him to be available. And Arizona is the worst in the entire league stopping tight ends. So those of you in the player prop market, Juwan Johnson is capable of putting up big numbers in this game. Arizona coming off an ugly 19-9 loss on the road at Seattle. They were able to move the ball, but just couldn't finish off drives. Kyler Murray, 23 of 37 for 222 yards and a pick. He ran 10 times for 100 yards. He lost a fumble. So he comes in as the 23rd ranked quarterback EPA in the NFL. That's just wild. It's just wild how much money is being spent on Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson for them to play this atrocious. The Cardinals had their top 3 running backs inactive. Eno Benjamin was elevated to RB1. He didn't look good running the ball. 15 carries for 37 yards. Longest carry was 6 yards. Connor with the rib injury. Darrell Williams with the knee injury were ruled out. Jonathan Ward is on IR. So We'll find out if Connor and Williams are capable of coming back. Zach Ertz got 7 passes for 70 yards. And then the big story, Marquise Brown, 5 catches for 68 yards, non-surgical fracture in his foot. He's going to be out for 6 weeks. They make the trade for Robbie Anderson, and they get DeAndre Hopkins back from his 6-game PED suspension. Kingsbury says he's going to be on a snap count. Hopkins says he's not going to be. So, last year, before Hopkins got hurt, the Cardinals averaged 30.2 points per game. Once he went down, that dropped to 18.8 points per game. It's going to be a big addition to have him back, and he's got things to prove after the negativity he's received for the PED suspension. The defense kept him in the game, though. Zaven Collins, Marcus Golden both played great. As a team, they finished with 5 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. The Cardinals' secondary is 24th in pass defense DVOA. Is that something that with Winston, the Saints are going to be able to attack? Arizona 10-17 against the spread at home in the Kingsbury Murray era. Justin Pugh, knee injury, and outside linebacker Dennis Gardeck left early in the second half with an ankle injury. We'll get more information on that. There you go. There's the table set. How are we going to make money on the Thursday nighter? Take it away, Andy.
Well, we're up 1 flat unit we're up 1.1 units by not betting the game. Like some people in the chat have already said, the game's a definition of a pass. There's so many things. Like if there's one level of uncertainty and you think, it's like 70-30, something's going to happen. And yeah, I would rather be under center than Andy Dalton's kind of putting up points, man. But it is a short week for a head coach who's saying crazy things like, hey, we might just pass off the play calling duties to someone else. That feels like a desperation move as far as, one of those things where either he's getting pressured to do that or he's on the hot seat. Although this ownership group is so cheap, I don't think they'll fire Cliff. I think Cliff is a bad coach. The fact that this offense did bupkis last week against Seattle was real. Like only 300 yards, two turnovers is bad. But trying to bring in not only a guy who's been suspended for the entire season so far, but a guy who played on a different team and integrating them into an offense just like that isn't easy. And doing it on a short week is even tougher. Pugh is a big loss. Like that's just another piece of your offense that's gone. And it's not a great pass rush. I mean, we saw that last week. I said that with Cincinnati. I said Cincinnati probably wins if this New Orleans pass rush doesn't get home because they don't tend to get home a lot. So I'd love to bet Arizona here. Like this is a nice spot for them to get the offense going, but just way, way too much uncertainty with all the injuries. And then New Orleans, just the only good injury news they've had is Olave. And again, he's a rookie. Jameis was somebody I was high on coming into the season, but once he sustained that back injury, he started to look really, really, hesitant. His touch wasn't there on some of the short stuff. He threw a couple bombs that kind of hid that. If you look at like the overall stats, like, oh, he had a good game. He had like one long pass that kind of propped it up a little. So, this is such a hard pass for me because there's a million different things going on a short week. And then Dennis Allen too. I know he's not a rookie head coach. He has coached before in the league. I think he had it was probably one of those 2.5-year stints. I think he was actually fired midseason. So he's not a rookie head coach, but first-time head coaches on short weeks like this don't tend to do well. That's a good bet against spot. But I can't get in bed with Arizona right now the way the offense looks, trying to bring in 2 receivers like this. If it starts to look, it might be a buy spot on them down the road if this offense gets going. But I think, honestly, out of everything I just listed, the most troubling thing was Cliff saying we're thinking about changing how, who and how we call plays. Like that doesn't inspire confidence to be betting on a team right now after they put up 9 points against Seattle.
It does not inspire confidence. And the way the Cardinals have been playing at home does not inspire at all confidence. I guess it's a Saints or no bet and an under or no bet, I guess. What's keeping you off of betting the under?
Just I don't like the Saints defense. I don't like either defense. I have them both pretty like the Saints may not be able to take advantage of the injured offensive line and get after Kyler Murray. And in the same rate, I have the Arizona defense ranked bottom 5. I mean, even getting pieces back, from the beginning of the season, there were some injuries. It's still been very bad. Like, truthfully, they should have given up more points last week. So I worry about these defenses just being very poor. So this total is probably about right for me.
Yeah, Top's saying too many question marks here. What's your expectation of? So they lose Marquise Brown, and he was getting a ton of attention. So, what is your thoughts on Hopkins? And I guess what I think that's happening to me is I guess I'm overvaluing Hopkins coming back, and Robbie Anderson.
If it were a regular week, Jimmy, if he had a full week of practice with the team, it'd be one thing. But on a short week, trying to just bring him in and get him into the offense, it feels tough.
It does. I still leave here as we are about to move on to Sunday's card. I still leave here thinking that it's probably the Saints is the move.
I'll be live bet. I know you will too. We'll be live betting this. If the Saints offense looks lively, I'll be looking, overs or Saints.
Yeah, Spenny says, who covers D-Hop? I know he's been out, but got top 5 wide receiver in the league when healthy. And Birdie says that's the key point, the short week. Okay, Harvey D says, big pass for me. Better games to bet on that day. Tops it off. Papa Call says, I want to bet New Orleans, but I'll save cash and not bet it. I still leave here thinking that the Saints should be able to take care of business here. I guess I'll have to sit with it a little longer. I mean, it sure would be nicer at the plus 2.5, but the money line opened up at plus 120. It opened up at plus 120 on Sunday at 6:46 p.m. By 10 p.m., that was plus 101. By 11 p.m., that was minus 106. That immediate sharp money was all over the Saints. And, I think they're right. It's come back a little bit, but I leave here thinking that I'll probably bet on the Saints here. I expect to bet on the Saints. That is your Thursday nighter, October 20th, and we will be live betting it right here on Pub Sports Radio. Let's move on to Sunday, and we start with the team that everybody wants to talk about all of a sudden, the Atlanta Falcons. 6-0 against the spread. Only 11 times since 1989 as a team opened 6-0 against the spread. 3-3, 1-2 on the road at the Cincinnati Bengals. 3-3, 1-1 at home, Paycor Stadium, Cincinnati, Ohio. Nice weather this weekend. Again, it's really cold midweek, but then it gets nice everywhere in the weekend. 71 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 9 miles per hour. These Falcons opened up as 6.5-point dogs, and that 6.5 got up to minus 123. It looked like there might be a 6 coming, but it's back to minus 111. Then from a total standpoint, we have it opening up at 45, and it's gone up to 47. That's where we are right now. Move over to the cash flow in this one. I'll move over here. Falcons, Cincy, 7,817 tickets in, 36% of the tickets, 44% of the cash on Cincinnati. Then 91% of the tickets and 98% of the cash. And I know the sample size is small, but 91 and 98 on the over, and we've seen it go up. Sky Dragon will get us rolling. He says the 2 times Atlanta stepped up in class, they got whipped by the Rams and Bucks. They scored garbage time TDs. They were never in either game. Viper says the total's gone under in 10 of Cincinnati's last 11 games, and the total's gone under in 10 of Atlanta's last 15 games. The Falcons coming off their most impressive win to date this year. Arthur Smith clearly doing a very good job. 28-14 victory at home over the Niners. Mariota 13 of 14 for 129 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Completed his first 13 passes before throwing that lone incompletion on the final attempt of the day. He also ran 6 times for 50 yards. Olamide Zacchaeus led receivers with 4 catches for 58 yards. Drake London caught 3 for 40. Kyle Pitts returned from injury, caught 3 passes for 19 yards and a touchdown. Only his second career touchdown, which is wild for how many yards he put up last year. Caleb Huntley ran 16 times for 59 yards, and Tyler Algier ran 15 times for 51 yards. So I guess that quells the concern of Cordell Patterson being out of the lineup. They didn't get a ton of pressure on Garoppolo, 0 sacks and 4 quarterback hits, but the defense was strong. They held the 49ers to just 50 yards rushing. Isaiah Oliver and Jalen Hawkins had interceptions. Oliver got hurt late in the game, but walked off under his own power. A.J. Terrell was injured in the second half and didn't return. So Atlanta's other starting quarterback, Casey Hayward, hobbled off late in the game with a shoulder injury. So Arthur Smith didn't really give us any updates, but Terrell declared that the absence was precautionary and was done to ensure that he'll be good to go next week against the Bengals. The Bengals come from behind 30-26 win on the road in New Orleans. Burrow 28-37 for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Jamar Chase 7 catches for 132 yards, 2 TDs, and that 60-yard catch and run with 1:57 left. Tyler Boyd 6 for 66. Mixon ran 8 for 45, caught 4 for 23. The defense had difficulty stopping an Andy Dalton-led offense that was missing its top 3 receivers. And I know that they have options with Taysom Hill and things like that, but that was surprising that they couldn't stop that offense, and that the Saints were in control most of the game. Again, I don't know if you need to worry too much about this Falcons offense. Take it away for us, Andy. Atlanta Falcons at Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, it was a good spot for them last week with the 49ers coming in, all those injuries. I mean, massive amounts of injuries. Sounds like the 49ers, we'll get to them in a bit, are going to end up getting a bunch of players back over the next week or two, and they might be right back where they should be. Quick question I wanted to answer I don't know how to say this guy's name, Saturated. That means I had to say it out loud to get to it because it looks like Saturday. And then, all right, Saturated. Yeah, last year, the average score, regular season games, was 46.1 points. I just pulled it up as of yesterday. The average score this year is 43.3, so almost 3 points less per game. And we've had about 100 games through the season, so it's a half-decent sample. Scoring is down by almost a field goal so far this year. We'll see what the refs do. Maybe we'll see more of what we saw last night, where the refs are like, hey, let's move these offenses along with tons of pass interference and, a couple of real questionable, roughing the passer, which neither of those was very convincing. I did bet the Cincinnati Bengals already here. This is a really good matchup for them. I know they're saying, positive things on some of these injuries, but the fact of the matter is the Falcons had 3 injuries to cornerbacks last week. If any of those guys are even dinged up in this one, this is such a nightmare matchup because, the Cincinnati Bengals have become one of the most simple teams to kind of handicap if they'll win a game or not. If Joe Burrow is under duress constantly, he doesn't handle it all that well. As far as, running into sacks, a lot of the sacks are his fault, not the offensive lines. If there's not a pass rush, the offense is going to be fine. They're at home. There's not a pass rush for Atlanta. They've been horrid. They didn't get a single sack last week against a beat-up offensive line and a quarterback I don't really trust. And their corners got hurt. Cornerbacks, your defensive secondary and your pass rush kind of work in tandem, and both of them are bad because of just not having the bodies at the pass rush and now having some injuries in the defensive secondary. So Cincinnati team total over, Cincinnati and the over, however you want to bet. I think Cincinnati could put up like 35 here. This is one of those where this offense is just going to get rolling right. And the Falcons couldn't be higher in the market as, where they are right now. They've won 6 straight against the spread. They still, eventually the market is going to adjust enough. This was on the other side of 7 during the summer when these, all the lines were released here. So it's not a good matchup. I think the Falcons can win enough games to make the playoffs just based on where they are already. Like the fact that they've gotten to this point, they've won some games they weren't supposed to. I think this team could sneak into the NFC playoffs. It's just not a good matchup week for them. So I think they do get blowed out.
What do you want to make official here for record keeping?
So I whatever you can get me now. I bet -6, -05 yesterday. I'm sure that's gone up a touch.
It has, but there's 6s that are widely available.
Yeah, I mean,
minus
6.
108.
Yeah, we'll take that.
Yeah, that all makes sense. Did you have any interest in first half, full game, moving around, or did you just want that the full?
Just the 6.
Yeah, this all makes sense to me. It all makes sense. Eric Swiatek says his model has Cincy minus 2.5 and says Falcons still get no respect. Sammy Comer says Bengals by 10, and Topset says I'm on the Bengals. This game screams let down for the Falcons. Sorry, my blowout special this week, and that is why it's spelled wrong. For anyone who's sitting there going, these guys don't even know how to spell fucking Falcon. It's the people are making fun of me, and that's why it's spelled that way. So, all right, that's Andy's in. I want into.
Yeah, and truthfully too, just from a game state standpoint, the Falcons are good if they're ahead. Like I know they've had some of these games with garbage points to get in the back door, but it's going to be tough with what they're having right now. For as far as this matchup, Cincinnati is going to be able to keep on the gas. Like if it starts getting close, the offense is going to be able to just kick right back into gear. It's not going to be like the Rams game. That Rams offense we've seen, it's not good. Mm-hmm. So I'm not worried about the Bengals getting backdoored here either.
I like it. We are locked in. Andy is on the board, and I would like to join. Let's move on to a fascinating one. 1 p.m. Eastern, Detroit Lions, 1-4, 0-2 on the road at the Dallas Cowboys, 4-2, 2-1 at home at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. This opened up Dallas -7 at -111, and we're now -7 at -113. So there's been a 2-cent move towards the Cowboys. This total opening up at 48.5, -110 to the under. It's now -103 to the under. So there has been a 7-cent move towards the over. And cash-wise, 5,939 tickets in, 56% of the tickets, and 87% of the cash is on the Detroit Lions. Interesting. Then 34% of the tickets, 66% of the cash is on the under. Birdie asking if anyone knows Swift's status. We're going to discuss all the information that I have picked up. The community of new knowledge in the house. Great to see you. Rance is on the under. Viper says Detroit 10-4 against spread in its last 14 games, and the Lions are coming in off a much-needed bye week. Last seen in an ugly 29-0 loss at New England. Stopped 6 times on 4th down. They came in averaging a league best 35 points per game. Detroit's the second team in the past 25 years to enter a game leading the league in scoring and get shut out. And even after the shutout, they have the NFL's second-ranked offense, 411.8 yards per game, and third-ranked scoring offense at 28 points per game. Jared Goff, 19-35 for 229 yards, 1 interception in the loss. Jamal Williams was RB1 with DeAndre Swift injured. He ran 15 times for 56 yards. Swift suffered a shoulder injury in week 4, which the team wanted to get right through the bye. So everything that I've read, Birdie, as DeAndre Swift playing on Sunday. And I don't know if Andy can back that up, but everything I read was that he almost could have played before the bye, but they wanted to ensure that he was going to be 100%. And 258 total yards, 2 touchdowns in his first 2 full games this season. Amon-Ra St. Brown also needed this week off from his ankle injury. He did not look good returning from the ankle injury. 4 catches for 18 yards. And then defensive lineman John Kaminsky hasn't played since week 2 because of a wrist injury. And he was leading the team in quarterback pressures the first 2 weeks. Campbell says it looks promising that Kaminsky will be back Sunday in Dallas. He also said that rookie defensive lineman Josh Paschal and second-year cornerback Jerry Jacobs are trending in the right direction to be in the lineup on Sunday. And the Lions, though, are allowing 167.6 rush yards per game, and that could hurt them here. Cowboys had their 4-game winning streak snapped in 26-17 loss. Philly went down 20-0, battled back down just 20-17 early in the 4th. Cooper Rush suffered his first loss as starting quarterback, 18-38, 181 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. But Dak Prescott is expected to be under center for this one. He's not been seen since injuring his thumb in that 19-3 loss to the Buccaneers in week 1. CeeDee Lamb caught 5 passes for 68 yards, and Jake Ferguson 4 for 40 in a TD. Zeke had 13 carries for 81 yards. This defense still looks strong. I know that they got down pretty fast against Philly, but it still looks strong, and they finished with 4 sacks. And this is a good football team, and Dak will be back. And the weak point of the Lions defense is the rush yards allowed, and that they should get hammered here with that. And then we're also talking, as we always do, about a very public dog. This is going to be a huge public dog, and we know what happens to public dogs is they don't cover. But let's hear Andy's breakdown before we solidify thoughts. Lions, Cowboys, Andy, take it away.
Not too dissimilar from the Thursday game, where there is a lot of injury news that changes things greatly. Coaches lie all the time, like the Swift thing. Who knows if that's bullshit or not? Like, that very much matters, because this defense for Dallas, while maybe a titch overrated, it is not the 85 Bears. They still have some holes, especially for teams that can defend an outside rush. It's still very good, and that'll be kind of the matchup to watch. The Detroit Lions, despite having a bad record and kind of being a weird team, this is one of the best offensive lines in the league. Like, it is a good line coming in. It still has been a good line. The defense has been just so bad, and they've had some injuries on the offense. I feel like this team could have been better if things would have stayed together a little bit. Yeah, I need confirmation on a couple of these players before I can really jump in. And truthfully, I think it's a live betting spot. I think you'll know right away. I want to watch warm-ups. Like, I want to find a stream or wherever I can sit and watch warm-ups, or if somebody's streaming that or has some video of it on Twitter. I want to see Dak throwing a ball. I want to see what that grip and that spiral looks like. I think they're rushing the guy back here, so I'm tempted to tease Dallas here, because I think just if Detroit's injuries aren't all as hunky-dory as they're making out to be, this offense could be in trouble against a good defense, and this defense should get just shredded by even Zeke. And I don't even like Zeke. Zeke had a couple nice runs, but Zeke, Pollard, and anything else they throw at him. I mean, even some of these wide receiver jet sweeps and stuff they do, they should be able to run on this team and just keep the ball out of the Detroit offense's hands. And Dallas, this is one where I actually kind of like Dallas, even though if I look at my raw numbers, I show some value in Detroit, but I need a lot more answers before I can start getting and jumping in on this one.
Birdie says this O-line for the Lions will be healthy. We actually get good value here because people forget when healthy, this Detroit offense was really good. And Eric Switek says we'll only bet Dallas here, maybe sharp under. I do have interest in the under, and I think your breakdown pushes me even further towards it. I think that the idea for the Cowboys will be to run the ball down the Lions' throat and keep that Lions offense off the field. Would you be interested in the under here, Andy?
Where are we at? 48.5. God, that's close. I'll have to look, but yeah, if I leaned one way, it would be that way. Especially, and people aren't even talking about Shark. Like, Sun God, his ankle injury is not 100% still. It's great they had a bye and he's feeling better, but they have a very banged up skill position player group against a tough defense. The Detroit Lions could have a pretty bad day on offense, despite, good, the offensive line is looking good and it's healthy. It still might be a bad day. So I don't know if I trust Goff against a smart, well-coordinated defense, especially if some of the skill position players are hurt. So Dallas or nothing. And then, I really like the total depends on however this Detroit Lions offense goes is how the total goes. Dallas will get theirs against this defense. If Detroit's offense is stuck in mud against this D, it stays under. Like, I think if you're betting this total, you're basically betting the Detroit Lions team total. You might want to just take it down to that level.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it as well. Team total. Okay, I like where we stand here. I guess this is the final point here, and with something that Birdie's talking about that's sort of in my head. Do we think this Cowboys defense is exhausted, banged up?
I mean, they actually looked okay in the second half there. They seemed, fine when they were kind of in comeback mode there. And really, like, I don't know, like I worry that they just, even in a game where I would be trying to protect Dak, like sometimes that's such a negative. Oh, our quarterback's coming back and we can't have him drop back 50 times. Yeah, that's fine. Like this is the perfect game for that. You should be able to shred this run defense. Like, yeah, have Dak have a Mariota game. Throw the ball like 15 times. Like, I think you can still win by margin just based on a good run scheme, good run blockers, and 2 good running backs. So I do think Dallas does a little bit of ball control, and maybe even if the Detroit Lions offense is humming a little, they just don't have enough possessions to get up to this, 20, 24 point level.
I lean towards this under, and I need a little more time on the side, but I certainly think that the game script is set up pretty nice with the Dallas Cowboys offense against this Lions defense that can't stop the run. That's the most simple angle in this game that I'm going to be attacking. And if I attack it, it probably leads me to the under. Okay, we move on. Next up for us, Indianapolis Colts, 3-2-1, 1-1-1 on the road at the Tennessee Titans, 3-2, 1-1 at home, Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. Beautiful. Nashville, 71 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 9 miles per hour. Tennessee opening up -2 at -106. That got up to -119 this afternoon. It actually got up to -124 on Sunday night. Wow. So it's come back. It was even at -125 at 9:30 in the morning yesterday. But now sitting at -117. From a totals perspective, this opened up at 42.5, -107 to the over. It's been an 11-cent move to the over at this point. So let's take a look and see if we have cash flow that correlates with all of that. 5,270 tickets in. 45% of the tickets and 58% of the cash on Tennessee and Tannehill. And it's a split with the total. 54% of tickets on the under, but just 50% of the cash is on that under. Colts come in off a 34-27 home win over Jacksonville. Matt Ryan had far and away his best game in the Colts uniform, going 42 of 58 for 389 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He broke the franchise's single-game record for completions and moved on into 7th on the NFL's career passing list. Michael Pittman Jr. caught 13 passes for 134 yards. With Jonathan Taylor out with an ankle injury, Naheem Hines out with a concussion, Deion Jackson was excellent. He was excellent. Ran 12 times for 42 yards, touchdown, caught 10 passes for 79 yards. Now, both Taylor and Hines could return this week. Taylor practiced last week, and Hines is still in concussion protocol. Paris Campbell and Alex Pierce also caught TD passes. The defense was again missing Shaquille Leonard, but did enough to get the win. But their rush defense got gashed, 243 yards. They came in allowing just 96.6 per game. And Bobby Okereke, 13 tackles, and the Colts had 4 sacks and 4 quarterback hits. The Titans coming off their bye week. They were last seen winning their 3rd straight game of the year, 21-17 at the Commanders. Since 2017, they're 5-0 straight up off the bye, and they're 3-2 against the spread off of a bye. In week 4, they went into Indianapolis and beat them 24-17. They don't get in the red zone very often, but when they do, they're a league best 10 of 11. Derrick Henry does not look the same this year. I'm wondering if maybe that changes a bit coming off of the bye. The Titans are 21st in rush yards per game. Henry's averaging 81.6 per game, and his 3.9 yards per carry is his lowest since entering the league. 3 starters were inactive against the Commanders. Zach Cunningham, Bud Dupree, actually 4 because I added Bud Dupree, Armani Hooker, and Nate Davis. And we didn't get an update on the Zach Cunningham situation, but Dupree, Hooker, and Nate Davis are all expected to return. Do the Titans – is this a nice spot to fade the Colts to after they looked pretty good against the Jags? Take it away for us, Andy, Titans Colts.
Yeah, this is another one. The Colts' schedule is weird. This is their second rematch game of the year already. Like, they're just getting all their division games out of the way apparently right away. But look at what the line is here and what the line was in the last one. It is a Big adjustment. Home field is no longer worth 3 points. It's worth about 4% on the spread. So from one game to the other game, if you're at home and home, it should move like 8%. It's moved a lot more than that. The fact that it went from like a 3.5, 4 for the Colts to Tennessee -2.5 at home is big. I'd love to take the divisional dog here. I think Derrick Henry, the way to get him going and the way I've seen it is getting him involved in the passing game. That's been successful. I'm not sure why they don't just lean into that. That's great. And then, what we saw from this Colts defense against, it's not like he wasn't a big name in college and there was a lot of hope, but it's not like Travis Etienne has been, a top 5 running back in the league. For him to knock off 8 yards a carry, and then basically every other time they handed the ball to anyone, Robinson, 12 for 54, like you said, they averaged 7+ yards per rush. And it wasn't, they only ran the ball 15 times. No, they ran the ball 33 times. It's a big enough sample. Granted, one or two brought the average up quite a bit from ETN and Hasty, but man, they really ran the ball well. That makes me super nervous for the Colts as a dog, as a teaser leg in this one. You could use this as a teaser leg. It's kind of in that zone, but I don't know if we're ever going to see a game like this from Matt Ryan. Like what tells you that was repeatable? We've seen that one time this whole year where Matt Ryan has just looked horrible the rest of the games. I don't think him throwing the ball 58 times is sustainable in any of these matchups. So I'd love to back the Colts here because I think this adjustment's too big, but I don't see how this rush defense holds up to what Tennessee's going to bring. And Tennessee's been maybe, a little higher than I thought they would be as far as their offense. I was going to be down on this team. I'm trying to look where I have them right now. It is still, middle-ish of the pack, but I was leaning towards this team falling off based on, hey, you didn't replace A.J. Brown. You have a running back who's older now and he's hurt. I've been pleasantly surprised. I think this is a middle-of-the-pack team rather than where they were headed, and this number's pretty close to where I'd have it. I do lean under. I know there's a couple people saying that in the chat as well. Tennessee, but like the Tennessee regression in the red zone doesn't feel like this week is going to be it if they get there. Indianapolis isn't good in the red zone. As far as this year goes, they're giving it up at like a 65% rate. They're 24th in the league in opponent red zone scoring percentage. So it's not maybe a great week for that trend to buck right now. So I'm scared off the under because of that, and I'm scared off the Colts because of the Colts rush defense right now.
I want to fade what I saw. I was on the Colts -2, and I want to bet against them. I think everybody saw that, like you said, a game that's going to be extremely difficult for Matt Ryan to deliver a second time. And the Tennessee coming off the bye. So is Mac Beaver saying very tough to beat the same team twice in a year, not to mention twice in 1 month? Is that enough for me not to move on this? Because personally, I think the Titans take care of business. That was the Colts at home. Let's get them outdoors on the road. And the Titans are a rested, better football team. I can't count on Shaquille Leonard being out there. Spenny saying that Leonard's still dealing with a broken nose and concussion. He had surgery on his nose. I thought he was going to be out there last week. And look what – I think you nailed it when you talked about 243 yards. And I know that the Hasty – we had one run for 61 yards or whatever. But still, I mean, they got gashed. And are you worried about the team? Do you get concerned when a team meets the opposition again 3 weeks later after beating them in their barn?
Not really. And I don't know. I'd have to look that up. I should get on the old database and see how often do divisional teams sweep compared to split during the year? Because there's there's 3 outcomes, I suppose. You either split, sweep, or the other team sweeps, unless you want to throw ties in, which the Colts have been determined to gather a tie here and there. But no, I don't really worry about that. I know that the level of, certainty you have, or the level of familiarity is the word I'm looking for with these divisional teams, is higher. So they tend to be closer. You tend to be able to take advantage of some of these divisional dogs, but divisional dog on the road with a run defense looking like it's looking versus a team that tends to want to run the ball. And if Henry's, chunking along, things are going to be just fine. And they're coming off a bye. It's probably the opposite for me. It's Titans or pass right now. And I'm not the kind of guy who loves betting the Titans.
I want them badly here. I'd love to. I guess I'm going to get on the phone with Birdie and discuss what he likes about the Colts here. I want to take advantage of what everybody saw last week. I do not expect that to happen again. And if they do get Cunningham back, I mean that's huge because we know that Dupree and Amani Hooker will be back. I mean, that's a big help to this team.
Yeah.
I want them. I want them. I'm Titans, Colts under. Maybe I bet them both. I'll figure that out tonight after the show. But I'm very, very interested in backing the Titans here and fading what we saw last week or just 2 days ago. Sky Dragons is like the Colts more. Spenny leaning Colts. Maybe I need more time with this because there's a bunch of you guys saying that. Sky Dragon saying net yards per play, Tennessee a league worst, minus 1.4. Okay.
Yeah, and some early in the season, I hate some of that too. He's right. They are bad, but a lot of that is derived from getting out. I believe it was like a 250-yard difference in the Bills game where they didn't have that many more plays. So sometimes you get the shit beat out of you once, and those numbers are skewed, but even if you try to church that up a little, Tennessee hasn't been great, even in their wins. Like, you didn't beat Washington by much. You lost to the Giants early. They haven't looked good. The Colts game wasn't great. The Raiders game wasn't great. Like, the only thing they have going for them is the matchup against the run defense and the fact they're off a bye. I went into this game saying, like, I'm probably going to be looking at the Colts here, and I ended up looking the other way. So usually that's a hard pass for me.
Understandable. I guess I'm concerned that you guys. I guess I need to leave this alone.
Yeah, Sky Dragon points out too the Washington game. Like, Washington put a lot of yards on them too. They just such a shitty team they didn't finish.
Birdie saying Andy talked about it for me. This line is adjusted too much, especially given these games being so close together. It took a big swing. Okay, all right. I'll stay off at this point then and sit with it for a little longer. Let's move on. Next up, 1 p.m. Eastern, Green Bay Packers, 3-3, 1-1 on the road. The Washington Commanders, 2-4, 1-2 at home. FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland, 65 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 7 miles per hour is the wind. Again, the weather's really nice all over North America this weekend. Green Bay, Washington. Let's take a look at the line of history here. Green Bay opened up as 4.5-point favorites at minus 106 at Pinnacle. They got up to minus 116. They're now minus 110 right now. Minus 110 from a totals perspective. It opened up at 42 and is now at 41. We go over to the cash flow in this one. 5,031 tickets in. 64% of the tickets, 74% of the cash on Rodgers. Then 65% of the tickets and 89% of the cash on the under. Packers coming off a shocking 27-10 loss at home to the Jets. They've now lost consecutive regular season games within the same season for the first time since LaFleur's arrival in 2019. Packers entered Sunday having won 20 of their last 21 home games. Rodgers has started against AFC teams, including 11 straight victories. I mentioned that on the show last week, and the Jets, they're making a lot of believers out there. Getting a lot of believers. Aaron Rodgers, 26-41, 246 yards, 1 touchdown. Robert Tonyan caught 10 passes for 90 yards. Alan Lazard caught 4 for 76 and a touchdown. They were unable to get anything going on the ground. A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones combined for 19 carries and 60 yards. Their defense that was thought of as elite before the season started could not get stops when they needed them. Zach Wilson only threw 110 yards passing, but on the ground, the Packers were outgained 179-60. and they can't stop the run. And it's shocking that that's the situation. They finished with 2 sacks, 2 quarterback hits. Guard Jake Hansen left with a bicep injury. Wide receiver Randall Cobb injured his ankle, and he's going to miss multiple weeks. He could even hit the IR. And this is an offense. So Cobb, second on the team in receiving yards, right? 257 yards, fourth in targets at 26 and receptions 18. Now, Sammy Watkins missed the last 4 games with a hamstring injury. He's close to returning. So we'll find that out tomorrow, Wednesday's practice. And Watkins looked pretty good in the first 2 games. 6 passes for 111 yards. He could help a lot. Commanders come in off extra rest and prep after snapping their 4-game losing streak with that ugly 12-7 win at Chicago. Wentz, 12 for 22, 99 yards, and injured his finger in the game. He has since had surgery, out 4 to 6 weeks. So Heineke will start against the Packers in Week 7. This is the 4th worst scoring offense in the NFL. And I think Heineke could give him a little boost. McLaren, 3 catches, 41 yards. Brian Robinson feeling more comfortable each week after the gunshot wounds, which was just 7 weeks ago, shot twice, 17 carries for 60 yards and a touchdown. It was their defense that got them. And when they hounded Justin Fields, sacked him 5 times, hit him 12 times. Jonathan Allen had an interception. Josh Bates is dealing with a hamstring injury, but I don't think that's too big of an issue at tight end. Take it away for us, Andy. Packers, Commanders.
Yeah, this game happened last year with and Heineke played in it. It stayed under, but it feels like a spot, and this total has been bet up. There are 40 flats out there on Sunday night, Monday, and I know it's been bet up a little. I trust the market. I believe in the market. It's probably a buy low spot on the Packers offense versus a very beatable defense. It's probably a buy low spot on a Commanders team that might have an upgrade at the quarterback spot. But can you really say like this Packers offense is just going to turn it around? I mean, it's a bounce back spot, but Christ on a bicycle, like it's a bounce back spot, except your quarterback is now carrying an injury and you lost one of the receivers that has gotten a big chunk of the target share. The running backs aren't doing what they said. The only good thing for possibly betting it over is like the Green Bay defense is now solidly bottom 10. You can say bottom 10 defense. There's a couple of bad defenses against bad offenses. It's a game where I think we'll probably need to see Heineke run the ball a bunch if we want to see this offense truly take a step forward. I mean, we didn't get a ton of it. Wilson didn't take off a lot, but the Packers defense could probably be beat by a squirrely running quarterback. I know his game logs are all over the place. Like he had a 95-yard rushing game, but he also had, a couple games where he barely took off. So I give it a slight upgrade, just how bad Wentz was over the last 2 weeks. But this is Commanders or nothing. And if you want to bet, take the points at home with the Commanders team with a quarterback we haven't seen yet this year. That doesn't sound like a lot of fun. If this total keeps getting bet up, gets up to like 42.5, because that's where the steam is right now. I'm probably fine taking this under, but looking at Washington plus 5.5, probably a live betting look though. I want to see Heineke actually play. I'd love to see a couple of drives where the game state doesn't get too out of whack. It's a bad Packers team. Like this offense could actually continue to be just as bad, even against a bad defense on the road. And this defense is legitimately horrid. And truly, the Commanders have some pieces on offense. I don't know. The coaching part is weird. Like if the things that Rivera said, like he was excited about Heineke starting. He said like this unlocks some things in our offense. Like, well, why wasn't he the starter then? Why weren't you just playing him? Like you can't say that now. That's stupid. So I don't know. Maybe we see a different game plan or Washington plays well. Leaning Washington, but they're still a really, really bad team.
Yeah. This one is tough. I can understand people feeling like this is a buy low spot on the Packers, but as you talked about their defense, statistically, this is just not a very good football team right now. Mm-hmm. And also in the past, when they would get off to a shaky start, Rodgers would say stuff like "relax," he'd be like, "Don't worry, don't worry." That's not coming out of him. He's not comfortable. He's going off on teammates and how they're handling the losses. And I would like to back the Commanders here. I would like to, but I also made a promise that I wouldn't fade a team that looked awful the week before. I would only fade teams that look decent, so I'm not dealing with a bias.
I mean, the last time the Packers looked good was home versus the Bears. The Buccaneers game was a 14-12 slog. They got taken to the overtime in Zappy's first game. They got beat to shit in London in the second half, and the Jets took them to the shed too. It's been like, I get that, yeah, it's finally a buy low spot, but it might just be this is where they should be in the market. This team isn't very good. And the defense, while they still have some good pieces, they're super susceptible to just like crossing routes. The linebackers aren't covering worth a shit. If they want to give Heineke some easy stuff over the middle because he isn't, this cannon, like just Curtis Samuel crossers all day long. Like you should just be able to dink and dunk your way down the field across the middle on this team.
I'm interested in the Commanders. I love your idea.
I'm pretty close to betting this team, which look ahead here was like 3.5.
I'm interested in your idea if this gets up to 42 or 42.5 to move on the under. I like both of those spots. Coin saying Wentz being out is an upgrade. Washington does have a decent front seven, and Rodgers won't be able to take advantage of the secondary without any weapons. That's true. All right. And Papa Call says it was down to 3 in the summer at some place, 3 or 3.5, depending where you shop. I like that. This is exciting. I want to be involved in this game. Harold Williams looking at the under. Let's see if it jumps up right now. Let's see if it jumps up right now. Let's just see what it is over at Bet365 as we speak. 41.5. Oh, we could see it 42. And your number you're looking for is 42.5?
Yeah, if it keeps going, I'll have to think about it. I think that's the same bet. Just a fade in the Green Bay offense.
All right, we move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. Tampa Bay Buccaneers 3-3, 2-1 on the road at the Carolina Panthers, 1-5, 1-4 at home. That's not right? What the hell? I think I screwed that up there. Oh, because I've got the wind in. Okay, my bad. Sorry. It was a rough day capping. I was so angry about my losses live betting last night that I was just sort of in a dark cloud all day. Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina, 68 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 8 miles per hour. We'll start with the line history here in this one. Move over. Here we go. We have the Panthers opening up as 10-point dogs. They're now 10.5-point dogs. This total opened up at 41. It's now at 40. Let's take a look at the cash flow for this one. Sports Insights has given no real line value to anybody on the board except Carolina here. They've given a bit, I'd say maybe 18%, 17% line value. 53% of the tickets are on Carolina, 48% of the cash. So the market doesn't really know what to do. 53% of tickets on the under, and they haven't given us a cash amount. This is the only game without a cash amount for the total. Buccaneers coming off that shocking 2018 loss at Pittsburgh. They're 21st in yards per play. And the Steelers secondary was so beaten up, and Brady, Godwin, and Evans couldn't do anything about it. It was just shocking. And the whole time I was like, oh, they'll get going. 4.5 yards per play against that Steelers team. Brady, 25 of 40, 243 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Godwin caught 6 passes for 95 yards. Evans, 4 for 42. Fournette ran 21 for 63, caught 6 for 38 and a touchdown. The secondary was missing 4 of its top 5 players. And we'll go over all of that when we break down the Steelers game. And your Minkah Fitzpatrick and TJ Watt. I mean, just nuts. The defense had 2 sacks, 2 interceptions, and Cameron Brate left on the stretcher. It's a sprained neck that he has, but there's no neurological damage. Panthers coming off a 24-10 loss at the Rams. And that was another thing that made me so angry. All I have written on my notes from last week was first half under. But I didn't bet it for some reason. Makes me want to smash this computer. They are 3-17 against the spread over their last 20 games. PJ Walker, 10 of 16 for 60 yards. Jacob Eason came in as well. He went 3 of 5 for 59 yards and an interception. McCaffrey was the entire offense. He ran 13 times for 69 yards, caught 7 passes for 89 yards. The rest of the team caught 6 passes for 30 yards. 158 of Carolina's 203 total yards. That's the highest percentage of any NFL team's offense from one player since 2003. So Wilkes sends Robbie Anderson in the locker room after a shouting match with Joe Daly. Yeah. You can tell the difference between certain teams that are playing well and teams that are falling apart. Robbie Anderson has a shouting match with Joe Daly, the receivers coach, and he's traded after the game. You watch Salah's players start screaming and want to fight, a coach, and he's like, "I love the fight." It's just two teams going in two different directions. The defense held strong for as long as they could, but they couldn't get off the field. I mean, the offense couldn't sustain any any drives. They finished with 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits, and scored the game's only TD on the Deontay Jackson pick 6. And it was the first game under Al Holcomb. And the Panthers had one of the NFL's worst rushing defenses coming in. The Rams they got 111 yards on the ground. The issue, though, Deontay Jackson hurt his ankle, and C.J. Henderson's now in concussion protocol. One of the things that happens when these teams are falling apart is when the player's in concussion protocol, there's no rush to come back. Take it away for us here, Andy. Buccaneers, Panthers.
Yeah, the offense went on the road, played indoors against a kind of a scuffling team, and they scored 3 points. They got their defensive touchdown, which was nice, but this offense scored 3 points. I will be on this under. I think it probably very similar to the Dallas game we saw in week 1, where Tampa Bay doesn't have to do much. I know everyone say like Brady has to get this offense right. You'll probably see it that maybe even similar to the game that this Buccaneers team lost to Green Bay, where Green Bay came out, had a couple of nice drives, and just kind of let the game whittle away from there. Tampa Bay gets up like 14, 17, 3, and all of a sudden there's no score in the third quarter. It's just kind of an ugly game. Carolina can't get this ball moving. It's at home. That's fine. Whatever. It's not like a big travel spot for Tampa Bay here. This Carolina defense has banged up secondary pieces. Their only good pieces are getting hurt. They traded a receiver. Eason is not an NFL quarterback. He does not have an NFL arm. This is bad news bears for basically everything about this franchise. At this point, it'd be good if they lost. Like, you want to lose games. You want to be able to draft Stroud. You want to be able, you want to go get your next quarterback. You want the number 1 pick, guys. So, yeah, I'm certainly not laying the points with Tampa, but it's the same thing as last week. It's like, well, this is too many points for the Rams, but they might just cover this by the ineptitude of the Carolina Panthers. And that's kind of what we had. Like, Carolina didn't deserve to get to 10 points. You go look at their total yardage was very anemic. Probably 200-ish, 203. And granted, they did have their best drive ended in an interception. They got 60 yards on a drive and that ended in a pick. But yeah, that's on pace for somewhere in the 8 to 12 points range. So probably about what they deserved, honestly, and that's about what we're going to get this week. And I don't think Tampa goes out and drops 30 on them. This is an under for me, so I will be on this under. I love a low totaled under. I want this one to be just a Tampa Bay's defensive domination. Truthfully, I want to give Pittsburgh some credit. Like, Trubisky looked kind of good at times, and he's getting benched if Pickett's healthy, which is funny. But there was a couple of really nice third down pickups by Trubisky. I think, everyone's saying Tampa's got to get this offense right. I think Bulls can be way more mad about this defense. I think this defense absolutely shows up and shuts down what's going to be a very one-dimensional team. Just put a couple hats on McCaffrey, call it a day.
Yeah, and Pinnacle, BetCris, Bookmaker, they've all moved this to 40. But there are still 40.5s out there.
Oh, yeah.
So this will be going down to 40 soon, probably by the morning. I like your look here. I like any interest in that team total for the Panthers at 13.5 at my book.
That's awful. Anything under 14, I get awful worried about. because you just have a bounce ball off a helmet return, and suddenly you're sweating that after the offense hasn't crossed the 50. So I'll stay away from that one, but I do like this under. I did get a 40.5.
Under 40.5 at minus 108 for Andy. Yeah, I like all of this. DJ Big Boss in the house. Great to see you. Saturated has a question. Do you credit Pittsburgh's defense as the reason the Bucs struggled this past week?
I do. Like, they looked good. And it was crazy because they're missing like what their two best players, maybe two and a half, honestly, and they were all over. I mean, there was a lot of third downs that weren't just like, oh, that was a bad pass, a bad play, a bad scheme. Like, they were knocking balls down. They were making tackles. Pittsburgh's defense looked really good at times for a unit that's missing so many pieces and has been banged up already. And honestly, a team I thought that was going to regress anyway on that side of the ball. So I kind of had to upgrade Pittsburgh's defense off of how far I dropped them with the injuries.
Interesting. Well, Andy on the under 40.5 minus 108. I like the look. I'm going to move a bunch of asterisks beside it. Coin already has Washington plus 5.5. Jacksonville under 42.5, and the under 40.5 in this pocket in this one. I like that. All right, we move on. Next up for us, New York Giants at Jacksonville Jaguars. 5-1 New York Giants. Unbelievable. We are in Jacksonville, Florida for this. 76 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 11 miles per hour. We will start with the line history in this one. By the way, the big Ragu will be at this game. So will Jacksonville Zoe. So I hope the two of you guys meet up for beers. And anybody going to be at this game in Jacksonville, please link up with our guys, Big Ragu and Zoe. This opened with the Jags -3 at plus 101. They're now -3 at minus 104. A lot of people surprised to see a 5-1 team going up against a 2-4 team, and the 2-4 being a 3-point favorite. But it makes sense from a statistical breakdown. This total opened up at 43.5 and is now at 41.5. Let's take a look at the cash flow on this one. 9,885 tickets in. 63% of the tickets are on the Giants, and that number will just go up, I imagine, as days go past. 52% of the cash. So the bigger bets are coming in on Jacksonville. Then you have 22% of tickets on the under and 53% of cash on that under. The Giants and Daboll just keep winning football games, coming off their third straight win. They've won 5 out of 6 to start the year. That was an impressive 24-20 home win over Baltimore. 5 wins surpasses their total from last year. 10-plus point deficit in 3 of those wins. And what can you say about Daboll? The Giants won the game despite being outgained 406 to 238. Daniel Jones, 19-27 for 173 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did lose a fumble. Cluster injuries at receiver. Daniel Bellinger was his favorite target with 15 catches for 38 yards and a touchdown. Wan'Dale Robinson, 3 catches for 37 yards in his first career TD in his return to the lineup after missing 4 games with a knee injury. Barkley, 22 carries for 83 yards and a touchdown, caught 3 passes for 12. And they went 7 of 14 on third down. I mean, that's just amazing. Leonard Williams returned to the lineup. This defense bent but didn't break. Wink Martindale, God, that must have felt so good for Wink Martindale. They forced 2 turnovers by Lamar Jackson late in the game. Finished with 2 sacks, 2 quarterback hits, and Julian Love had that crucial interception. And there you go. Giants win. Jaguars coming off their third straight loss, 34-27 setback in Indianapolis. 243 yards on the ground, but they couldn't stop Matt Ryan, who threw for 389 yards. So I think it's fair to say that Daniel Jones, with this wide receiving group, is not capable of beating this Jags team badly over the top. The Jags led the entire first half. They were up 21-13 in the beginning of the second half. Lawrence 20-22 for 165 yards and a touchdown, ran 6 times for 23 and 2 touchdowns. Etienne 10 times for 86 yards and caught 2 for 22. Zay Jones played, caught 5 passes for 42. Evan Ingram caught 5 for 40. And their defense just couldn't get enough pressure on Matt Ryan. They didn't sack him, but they did hit him 6 times. I love this game. I think it's going to make the sharps and pro gamblers a lot of money, and I think the public's going to lose a lot of money. But I did want to talk it out and hear what you have to say and what the chat has to say here. Take it away for us, Andy. Giants, Jaguars.
Yeah, what are we doing with the Jaguars? Like, Drew and I have just decided we're not betting Jaguars games anymore. But I'm pretty tempted by this first half. If you look, this Jaguars defense is hard to puzzle out, and the team in general is hard to puzzle out. But they are a pretty decent first half team. They've had a lot better results, and truthfully, the Giants have kind of been slower scoring, slower starting first half team too. I'm tempted by this Jacksonville first half. I still have you can't just take the records and say, well, this team's a lot better because they have a better record. This feels like one of those college spots, Jimmy, where it's like, hey, this team is 5-0 and they're ranked 22nd, and they're heading on the road against a 3-2 team, and they're a 8.5-point underdog. And it's one of those things where just on paper, it's like, well, this team's ranked and they have a better record. Why aren't they the favorite? It's the same kind of thing that the market is still not willing to budge on where the Giants probably should be. I think the Giants, they deserve an upgrade off preseason priors, but they're still 5-1's a little bit of a stretch for this team. Maybe the not as fraudulent as Minnesota, but it's still a middle of the pack team. But the fact that they have this many wins, they're probably going to sneak into the playoffs if they can keep any semblance of keeping their shit together with Dable. So, yeah, Jacksonville first half is a look for me. I haven't pulled the trigger on that yet. I want to catch up fully on injury news and look at a few more matchups. I think Jacksonville can kind of maintain this the Daniel Jones running attack. Sometimes Daniel Jones is just like, I don't want to ever compare him to Josh Allen, but like he has that same thing where it's just annoying how good he is at deciding to tuck the ball down and make some of these runs into space. So and like the chat pointed out, we have a very good second half adjustment. Not just Dable and the defensive coordinator. You've had great adjustments from this Giants team in the second half. So maybe we do a little Jacksonville first half, Giants second half, like he's suggesting.
That is interesting, yeah. Or wait for the Jaguars to get up and live bet the Giants.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So you do not want to make Jacksonville first half official here at this point.
What do we got for a line? I usually don't have first halves at the book I want to bet. See, there's not first halves up right now. Like maybe I'll have to text you on this one.
Pinnacle is up. Bet 365. Bodog 5 dimes. They're all the same.
Oh, Bodog. Yeah. What does Bodog have? I can bet there.
-2.5 and -110.
I'm in trouble, Jimmy, with BetUS. They don't like my golf. They don't like my golf bets anymore. Like they're still taking plenty of my NFL action, but my golf bets are not as I'm not as allowed to bet as much on them anymore. But Bodog, I think I'm cool. So what was it? 1.5?
2.5 at all these books.
God, it's like a goddamn preseason bet, isn't it? Where it's almost the same as the full line. Yeah. I can put me down. I'll bet it. I'm gonna go pull up. We call it Bovada, south of the border.
Yeah.
I know you're you're a Bodog guy.
Yes.
Bodog and Falcons.
-2.5 at -107 is the best line that we can give you. That is available at Pinnacle. So that's what we will give you. Jacksonville first half -2.5, -107. I'm interested. I'm very interested. I think and it's the adjustments that keep you off of the full game. Alex Gagnon liking the under. Interesting. Viper NB also liking the under. Sammy Comer and Harold Williams both on the Jags. Same with Christopher Comentini. Birdie says, Andy, is this the week that the Giants get bit by that youth of the Jags? Jags look like they could play with tempo here. I just wonder if, like the Falcons, this is the spot where the Giants get spanked. Jacksonville, I want Jacksonville, and this feels like you said that analogy of the college football spot with a ranked team on the road against a team with 2-3 or 3-2, and it feels like that spot. Feels like Jaguars are going to take care of business, and the books are going to make a lot of money off the public betting the Giants. Let's move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. Cleveland Browns 2-4, 1-1 on the road. The Baltimore Ravens 3-3, 1-2 at home at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. 66 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 4 miles per hour. Let's take a look at the line history here for this divisional battle. We have the Ravens opening up as 6-point favorites, moved to 6.5. The total opened up at 46 minus 107 to the under, some minus 114 to the under. This did get up to 47 for a little while yesterday. Sitting at 46 right now. Let's take a look at the cash for Baltimore, Cleveland. 5,485 tickets in, 63% of the tickets, 72% of the cash on the Ravens. Market moves a half point towards them. Then 70% of the tickets, 65% of the cash on the over. We'll start with the Browns coming in off their worst loss of the season, 38-15 at home to the Patriots. Most points allowed by Cleveland this season, most lopsided loss. Brissett, 21-45 for 266 yards, touchdown, 2 picks, lost a fumble. Donovan Peoples-Jones caught 4 passes for 74 yards. Njoku caught 3 for 58. Amari Cooper caught 4 for 44. Chubb entered the leading rusher in the NFL. And he ran 12 times for 56 yards, both season lows. Didn't have a double-digit gain until late in the third quarter. The defense couldn't get stopped. So Myles Garrett recorded both of the Browns' sacks. He's the career sack leader for them. And stripped the ball from Zappe in the first quarter. But then he left the game with an injury. It's a shoulder injury. It's aggravated from the car crash. He said he plans to play next week. The Browns rank 28th in yards per play allowed. They're allowing 6 yards per play. This defense is far, far worse than I expected them to be. They allow 5 yards per carry, and we know what the Ravens want to do. Also, Wyatt Teller, their Pro Bowl right guard, left in the second quarter with a calf injury and did not return. He had an MRI yesterday, but I just couldn't seem to get information on what was the results of it. The Ravens come in an angry group. Another fourth quarter lead slipping away. They outgained the Giants badly and lose 24-20. Lamar Jackson, 17-32 for 210 yards, touchdown and a pick, ran 7 for 77. Mark Andrews had 7 catches for 106 yards and a touchdown. That's his 9th 100-yard game, ties him with Mark Clayton for the franchise record. And then J.K. Dobbins re-injured his knee. Now, Kenyon Drake replaced him and looked great. 10 carries for 119 yards and a touchdown, but they got to get him right. The Ravens outgained the Giants 406 to 238. They averaged 7 yards per play, and the Giants averaged 3.8, and they lose. The defense had 4 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, but again, they're not getting stops when the game is on the line, and they lose right tackle Morgan Moses, a heel injury. He was carted off and will be out for extended period. Take it away for us, Andy. Browns, Ravens.
Yeah, my numbers can't support the Ravens as a 7-point favorite here, guys. They did just sign Deshaun Jackson, as someone points out. Deshaun Jackson, every year, even when he's old, he has like one big play. He's good for one bomb. I don't know if it'll be this week or next week, and then he'll be hurt. But he's always good for one. I don't know if that's enough to move the needle for me. This is going to be a lot of running, and I like this under. I'm just worried that the running is going to be too effective. This Cleveland defense, it keeps delving into deeper depths of shit for me. Like, Ramondre Stevenson's not great. He's good enough, but the fact that he averaged 4 a carry, they were able to kind of get what they wanted. And then, truthfully, this game was hard to evaluate because it quickly, like, once you got deep into the third quarter, it turned into, wow, I think we're in garbage time. Like, Cleveland's losing by enough. Brissett's not looking as good as he did early in the season. This is a spot, another one where I approached this game and I said, I'm looking to bet Cleveland here. This is too many points. Baltimore's not 7 points better than anyone in their division, truthfully. Like, even against the Steelers, and I know they'd probably line that at 8.5 if they were home. I still don't like the Ravens currently being this big of a favorite. The scary part of backing the Ravens is Deshaun Watson. Lamar Jackson probably is injured. Like, that was hinted at a few weeks back, and his play has kind of taken a step back, even against some defenses he should have been playing a little better as. So probably Cleveland or nothing here, and I'm worried that Cleveland's going to get gashed on the ground. So I do agree with the chat. I like this under quite a bit. 45.5. It's kind of in a dead zone there for me, but I'd lean under. I haven't bet this game.
Saturated says, and you kind of, and I think this is why you're staying off. It says if the Browns can score on the Ravens, isn't this an over? And
I would have said that a couple weeks ago, but Brissett has started to regress a little. I don't know if people have, there's enough film on how they're using him in this offense where people are able to scheme against this defense a little better, or scheme against this offense. Patriots are good defense, but they shouldn't have been that good. Like, they shouldn't have been. I bet the over last week with the Browns, and I expected a lot more out of the Browns. I was disappointed by the run game. I was disappointed by Brissett. So, if Brissett's taking steps back, there's going to be a lot of drives that end prematurely, and Cleveland's going to have trouble contributing to this total.
Yeah, I guess hearing that you guys are interested in the under, I guess that will keep me off of moving on the over. Do want to find out what's going on with Wyatt Teller as well.
Yeah.
If he's not there, then I think the under might be a nice look because, the Browns won't be able to move the ball on the ground as efficiently. So that is something for us all to keep an eye out for. And I tried to get that information today. I'm upset that I wasn't able to. Those are the 1:00 games. We move on to afternoon action. We start at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. New York Jets 4-2, 3-0 on the road at the Denver Broncos, 2-4, 2-1 at home at Empower Field. Mile High, Denver, Colorado. 69 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 16 miles per hour. This is the only game where there is wind. This is the only one where they might say there's, some type of weather issues, but barely. Jets, Broncos. Let's take a look at the line history here. No line at Pinnacle with the issues with Russell Wilson, which we will discuss. Why don't we go to Bet Online because they have no fear. Bet Online opened this up at the Broncos -3.5. And today it moved all the way to -1. Now that -1 is heavily juiced, so maybe it's like a legit 1.5. From a total standpoint, this opened up at 43.5 and has dropped all the way to 39. Dropped all the way to 39. Son Dizzle says Breece Hall is going to run the Broncos to death. Let's take a look at the cash here in this one. Jets Broncos. We have 8,044 tickets in, 89% of the tickets, 85% of the cash on the New York Jets. Then 82% of tickets and 96% of cash on the under. Jets come in riding high off their third straight win, 27-10 at the Packers, undefeated on the road this year, after their best 6-game start since 2015. Their defense was excellent. They held the Packers to just 278 total yards. Quincy Williams had 14 tackles. Quinnen Williams had 5 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. As a team, the Jets had 4 sacks and 9 quarterback hits. Zach Wilson, 10 of 18 for 110 yards. Corey Davis, the only receiver to catch more than 17 yards. 2 catches, 52 yards. But it was Breece Hall, man. 20 carries, 116 yards, touchdown. Broncos on a short week coming in off their third straight loss last night, 19-16 at the Chargers. They averaged 15.2 points per game on the season. I mean, this is just nuts. They're last in offensive points per game. They're last in touchdowns per game. They're 30th in third down conversion percentage. They're last in red zone touchdowns. They had 258 yards of offense. Russell Wilson, another disappointing start, 15-28, 188 yards and a touchdown, ran 4 for 23 yards, injured his hamstring in the fourth quarter. And as we talked about off the top, the term they're using is fairly significant. He's going to push to play, but he underwent an MRI and he's considered day-to-day. 15 yards he threw for in the final 2 quarters. Jerry Jeudy caught 3 passes for 54 yards. Greg Dulcich caught 2 passes and his first career TD in his first career game. KJ Hamler caught 2 passes for 44 yards. Latavius Murray ran 15 times for 66 yards. The Chargers were down 3 offensive linemen at one point. And I thought for sure the Broncos were going to win the football game. I just the way that the Chargers couldn't move the ball, it was stupid. I hate that. I hate when I'm just so certain about something. Oh God, that hurt. Baron Browning's been really good, really dangerous. 1 sack, 2 tackles for a loss, interception. Broncos defense is 5th in points per game, yards per game, touchdowns per game, opponents yards per pass. I mean, they're good, but their offense is holding them back, and now there may not be Russell Wilson under center. What are your thoughts here? Take it away for us, Andy. Jets Broncos.
Yeah, this is I mean, over the performances over the last 2 weeks, this is now my number one defense, which is I was fine with them moving up. I didn't think I'd be at this point. This defense is actually wildly solid. And it's crazy. They still lost the game because they held a really good team to, well, I mean, what was it? 16 in regulation. Like, that's a good performance. This, outside of one game, they've kept everybody in the teens or lower. This defense has been, they should be mad. Like, the offense should be washing their cars and, like, walking their dogs for them. This defense is doing everything they can, and they can't get this team any wins. Russell Wilson's bad right now. Like, he's rough. The problem is the injury turns to what, Mark Rippon, I think, is your backup. That's not better. Like, that's just as bad. That this total's 39 for a reason. I'm very tempted to take another super ugly, low totaled under. Because I get that the Jets have looked good on offense. Breece Hall's had some big games, but the best defense they've faced is Miami, and Miami's middle of the pack. I mean, there's a big chunk that's in the middle of the pack. Like, looking at the defenses that this Jets team has faced throughout the season, it hasn't been anyone super special. Like, the Jets and the Steelers, were just above average. Miami just a little bit below average. Green Bay well below average at this point. They played the Browns or the Bengals, one of those in there as well. Like, just another average defense. This is suddenly you're going up against the best defense. I think this New York Jets offense hits a hard roadblock. It's gonna be bad news for Zach Wilson's not good. Like, it's fun that this offense is doing some things against some teams they can compete with, but this is another one where the Jets might win this with 4 field goals. So, God damn it, the Denver Broncos are snake bitten right now. If Wilson misses this, I don't know how low this total can go. Like 30, there's a certain point where there'll be buyback, but like you can see this go down to like 38. So I don't know, like, and yes, yeah, I mean, Rippon did have that game last year. I forgot about that, but it's still, this Broncos defense is much different from how they played last year. This Broncos defense, I can't remember where I had them at the end of last year, but it was a disappointing performance. So I'm looking at the under. I don't want to get involved right now without some more news.
So you would be concerned if you, like, the team total under at 20.5 right now for the Broncos, you would be more concerned if Rippon was under center?
Not really. That game was a little bit of a kind of an outlier. I still think Russ might start, which doesn't make me want to bet the over. I'm still pretty dead set on this under.
Yeah, I get it. I absolutely get it. And I would like the team total under as well with the Broncos.
Yeah. Wildly good red zone team. Even if the Jets are able to move the ball a little, this Broncos team has been crazy good in the red zone. And like we pointed out last week, crazy bad in the red zone on the offensive side. So it's a Jets defense that is better than I thought it would be. It's still not anywhere near where I have the Broncos, but it's cresting towards top. It's right around 10th for me. So a couple of top 10 defenses versus offenses I don't trust at all. It's 39 for a reason. I tend to lean under.
And do you think it's imperative to wait to see who's at quarterback for the Broncos, or to move on it now?
I want to just hear some news on basically everything. I want to know, like, and I need to dig more into this Rippon kid at all. Like, if I'm worried about him, he doesn't run really, I don't think. I just don't know shit about him. Like you said, he had that one game with him. Maybe I'm not really waiting on anything. Maybe I'm just scared to take an under that starts with a 3.
Birdie saying if Rippon starts, he will be on the over. Well, I guess that means I'm gonna have to wait. Ugh. All right. We are gonna move. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to 4:05 p.m. Eastern. The Houston Texans 1-3-1, 1-2 on the road. The Las Vegas Raiders 1-4, 1-1 at home. Legion Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. Both teams coming in off of their bye weeks. Let's start with the line history here in the Texans Raiders game. We have the Raiders opening up -6.5, -106. They're now -6.5, -117. An 11-cent move towards them. From a totals perspective, it opened up at 43.5 and has fired all the way up to 46. A huge jump over at Penny. Let's take a look at the cash flow here. 4,577 tickets in. 32% of the tickets, 81% of the cash on the Texans. Market moving towards the Raiders. Bigger bets coming in on the Texans. Then 69% of tickets and 83% cash on the over, and the market's moving towards the over. So that's simple there. The Texans were last seen winning their first game of the season and first under Lovie Smith in week 5, 13-6 at Jacksonville. Damian Price looks like the real deal. 99 yards, 1 touchdown. Davis Mills played mistake-free football, 16-24 for 140 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. The Texans offense ranked 26th in yards per play, 31st in third down conversion percentage, and 24th in points per play. Now, Mario Addison returned to the field. He'd missed the first 4 games with an injury. He helped, clearly. And tight end Brevin Jordan was back in practice on Monday after missing last 3 games with an ankle injury. And they rank 29th in opponent yards per rush. And that's a big deal when you're talking about Josh Jacobs and the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders were last seen in a tough 30-29 loss at Kansas City in the Week 5 Monday nighter. Devontae Adams caught 3 for 124 and 2 touchdowns. Derek Carr ran 19-30 for 241 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Jacobs, as I said, 154 yards and a touchdown. And they have a lot of injury issues. Let's go over them. First off, Darren Waller is dealing with a hamstring injury. And we don't know if he's going to be in the lineup. He's not looked good after signing this giant contract. He's not looked good this year. 3-year, $51 million contract extension, 19.25 fully guaranteed. And his backup, Foster Moreau, has missed the last 2 games with a knee injury. So that means that Jesper Horsted is taking more offensive snaps. And that means they're using an extra offensive tackle at the tight end spot often as an extra blocker in jumbo sets. And we saw what that did against the Chiefs. Jacobs started running wild whenever they did that, and the Texans have difficulty against the run. The Raiders offense 9th in the NFL in yards per play. I mean, this is a good offense. Nate Hobbs had a cast on. He posted on his Instagram. He broke his hand. Now, this is, a very good cornerback for the Raiders, and it's important to keep an eye on it because he may try and play. They're saying that he might try and play or he is going to play, and that's interesting. So let's keep an eye on that. Then linebacker Jan Brown, a hamstring issue. So he was listed as out for Monday's game. And Anthony Everett, who was on the injured reserve for a thumb injury suffered in week 1, was supposed to be out until week 6. So we'll see if he's going to be getting to the return window soon. So that would help them. But the Nate Hobbs thing is big. Take it away and do you think that the Nate Hobbs and these issues to the defense and the ability for the Raiders to run the ball down the Texans' throat and possibly not be able to make enough stops is the reason why this game is being bet towards the over? Take it away for us here, Texans Raiders.
Yeah, I'll be on this over. And it's kind of a simple one. And I know scoring is down this year. Scoring is below. The average score is below the number posted up here on the screen at 46, but I'll still be on this over. It is 2 bottom 10 defenses, and I think they're both trending to go even lower, especially with some of the injuries, like you said, for the Raiders. And they both are going to be effective, and not only effective, but efficient running the ball against each other. And if we're going to see anything like we saw before the bye, where Devontae Adams is getting a little bit of chemistry with the quarterback, and we get a couple of plays over the top from him a game. So this Raiders offense is going to be keeping them in games that the defense is trying to keep them out of. So I like the Raiders as a bit of an over team here. Again, indoors, shitty defenses, both teams with extra time to prepare, get these offensive game plans put together, and yeah, let's go. So over 46, I'm trying to find the best number I can get on this one.
We can get you 45.5.
45.505 is what I found it. Lovig.ag.
Yep, you got it. Over 45 minus 105. Over 45 and a half minus 105. Interesting. If I gave you a free $500 bet on a side in this one at 6.5, who would you bet?
6.5 Raiders.
Or I guess it's 7 right now across the
board. I mean, it's moved up to 7, but if you gave me 6.5, I'd take the Raiders. Got an instant CLV at 7, but still lean Raiders. I think this offense hasn't performed as well as it can, despite some defensive injuries. I think they are going to be, and truthfully, really, that this line is pretty nice. Like it's right where it needs to be with my numbers right now. Like we talked about Minnesota being a fraudulent 4-5-1 team. Raiders aren't as bad as their record showed. They were in it versus some better teams. So I think they win. They could win by margin, but yeah, this is a really good number on the side.
All right, Andy's on the over 45.5 and minus 105. I like the look. And we'll be working on this game more, but that just makes sense here with the injuries to the Raiders defense, the inability for Houston, who ranks 29th in opponent yards per rush, and with these tight ends hurt, if they aren't in the lineup, they're going to run the ball down the Texans' throat, and if they continue to do that, sets up play action. And you have Devontae Adams out there for bombs. So I get everything there, and I'm very interested myself. Let's keep rolling. Next up, 4:25 p.m. Eastern, Seattle Seahawks 3-3, 1-2 on the road at the LA Chargers, 4-2, 2-1 at home. We're at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. We will start here with the line history. We have these Chargers opening up at Pinnacle. Now I know there were other books offshore that put this line out earlier. Pinnacle waited till this morning, and it's Chargers -6. But I know that there was a 7.5 before we saw the game go down last night. From a total perspective, it opened up at 51.5 minus 106 to the pick'em, and now it's juiced to the under. So let's take a look at the cash flow here in this one. We have 5,396 tickets in, 86% of the tickets, 93% of the cash on the Seattle Seahawks. And then we have 33% of the tickets on the over and 58% of cash on the over. Seahawks coming off a 19-9 home win over the Cardinals to get earn a share of first place in the NFC West.
Yeah.
Geno Smith, 20 of 31 for 197 yards. He also ran 6 times for 48 yards. Kenneth Walker's first career start replacing Penny. Walker looked good. He ran 21 times for 97 yards. The touchdown, caught 2 passes for 13 yards. Noah Fant led receivers with 6 catches for 45 yards. D. Eskridge was next with 3 catches for 39. And DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett had very quiet games. The defense was strong. They didn't allow Cardinals to finish drives. They finished with 6 sacks and 7 quarterback hits. Tariq Woolen had an interception. So this was the league, and is the league's worst run defense. And they had a slight reprieve against the Cardinals, who were missing their top 3 running backs, but they got gashed by Kyler Murray for 100 yards. But Benjamin and Keontae Ingram combined for 18 carries for 44 yards. They rank 30th in opponent yards per play. Let's see what the guys are saying. Spenny says Chargers smack them. Coin says, like Chargers here to get the win before their bye. The home team prior to a bye angle solid. Ed Searfoss also liking the Superchargers -6.5. But Gerald Jones says, how do the Chargers fix that O-line by Sunday? And that's my thought here. The Chargers are a beat-up group on a short week. They come in off a 1916 home win over the Broncos. Now, we do know the first way they're going to do that, and that's because Corey Linsley was sick.
Yeah.
That was just sick. So we got to expect that, he'll be back in, and that will fix the problems here. Herbert, 37 of 57 for 238 yards, no touchdowns and a pick. 57 attempts without a TD pass is an NFL record in a win. 26-game TD pass streak was snapped. Joshua Palmer, 9 catches for 57 yards. Parham caught 3 for 53. Eckler ran 14 for 36, and the touchdown caught 10 for 47. And Keenan Allen remained inactive. Dustin Hopkins kicked 4 field goals despite injuring his hamstring. And the Chargers defensively were strong despite missing Bosa and others. They finished with 4 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, and Joshua Kelly suffered a knee injury, and I couldn't get an update on that. Take it away for us here, Andy. Seahawks, Chargers, SoFi.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the Denver game and like how good this Denver defense is. It is wild how far, what a big difference we have between the defense and the offense. I have Denver as the 4th worst offense in the league. So it's like, yeah, it was a good performance, but you didn't, you didn't impress me by beating or keeping a really bad offense to, limited to this. So I want to bet the over a little, even though it's the highest total on the board. I'm going to stay away from that. It's crazy. If you just said this before the season started, before we knew anything, saying like, we're going from the Broncos to the Seahawks, and it's going to be, you're going from Russell Wilson last week to Geno Smith, and it is a big upgrade in the offense you're about to face. Because the Seattle offense has been kind of wildly efficient, and it's just kind of working. It's a top 10 offense. I mean, as far as just grading efficiencies, and it is a bad defense. So it's a couple of bad defenses, really. The Chargers, again, it wasn't impressive. You did it against the Broncos. Everybody should keep the Broncos to like 15 points. They're just that bad at this point. And I really think we see Kenny Walker get it going. You saw what the Browns were able to do against the Chargers on the ground. Like the Chargers, that's an absolute leak. I don't know why the Broncos didn't run more. I love that they benched Gordon. Like that was the right call, but I would have ran the ball more. I'd run the ball a lot. So I do worry a little on this. This over is a little high for that sort of game plan. But yeah, it's one of those where I have to stay off because I want to bet the Seahawks. And at the same time, I believe they're getting too high in the market. They're starting to hit the top of their range. So Seahawks, if this gets out to 7, I will have a Seahawks ticket.
That makes sense to me.
It's 6 in a lot of places. I doubt it, but hard lean to the Seahawks. I think they're able to move the ball. Not only it's not going to all be on Geno and those receivers. They're going to be able to run the ball with some ease against this Chargers defense at this point. And yeah, so even if the secondary is playing well for the Chargers, you're going to be able to run. Like you're going to have to stack the boxes and put guys out on an island with DK. And if there's a team that maybe can do that, it is the Chargers. But this is actually kind of a tough test for them right now. So it's a sketchy game.
Yeah, it's certainly a sketchy game. But you're under the belief that Lindsley comes back this week and the offensive line is fixed.
Yeah. Not fixed, but at least they're not starting Storm Norton. Like it could be worse.
Terry Walker looking at the over. Spenny Pennybomb saying Asante Samuel Jr. looking like his dad out there, guy becoming shut down. And Birdie as well saying this Chargers secondary is good enough to hold down the Seahawks wide receivers. I'm taking the bait Chargers for me here. I'm going to need more time on this one because I've got the bias of last night in my head, and it just fills me with rage. Let's move on to the next spot on the board. 4:25 p.m. Eastern. 3 games left on the card. Kansas City Chiefs 4-2, 2-1 on the road. San Francisco 49ers 3-3, 2-0 at home. We're at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California. 63 Fahrenheit, sunny, 12 miles per hour. Let's go to the odds here, the line history. And this opened up with the Niners +2. They're now +3. Sitting at +3 at -108. From a totals perspective, it opened up at 47.5, and it's now 48.5. Let's go over to the cash flow. 7,956 tickets in. 83% of the tickets and 97% of the cash is on the Kansas City Kansas City Chiefs. 63% of the tickets, 58% of the cash on the over. So some bigger bets coming in on the under. I'm shocked to read those numbers out, to see 83% of the tickets and 97% of cash. I guess it came out at 1.5 at some places, and people just absolutely hammered the Chiefs. I guess the pros and the syndicates. Chiefs coming off 24-20 loss home to the Bills. Mahomes 25-40, 338 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Juju Smith-Schuster caught 5 for 113 at TD, and Travis Kelce 8 for 108 yards. They struggled running the ball. They finished with 18 carries for 68 yards, but the defense looked good. They didn't get a ton of pressure, but they held the dangerous Bills offense to 2 for 4 in the red zone. And the Chiefs entered week 6 with the number 1 ranked scoring offense. And I can't wait to hear your thoughts about this 49ers squad. By the way, Rashad Fenton hamstring was inactive last week, and we'll be interested to see if he comes back for the Chiefs here. 49ers coming off a 28-14 loss at Atlanta. Jimmy G, 29-41, 296 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Brandon Ayuk, 8 catches for 83 yards and 2 touchdowns. And George Kittle, 8 for 83. Debo caught 7 for 79, ran twice for 11. But the running game could do so little. They ran 16 times for 50 yards, and the pass gets set up by the run for the Niners. And when they can't run, then they can't really do anything. And so this Chiefs team is 6th in opponent yards per carry. They allow just 4.1 yards per rush. And ever since losing Mitchell in week 1, the Niners running game has looked a little bit worse and a little bit worse and a little bit worse each week. The defense has been hit hard by injuries, and you really got that feeling when you watched the game against the Falcons. Nick Bosa with the groin injury. They lost 2 more starters during the game. Charvarius Ward with the groin injury, and offensive tackle Mike McGlinchey left calf. Hufanga left the game early, and he was
concussion protocol.
And he felt the issues the next morning, so he's in concussion protocol. Charlie Werner suffered an AC sprain, tight end. Linebacker Demetrius Flanagan Fowles is dealing with a knee tendonitis. Defensive end Drake Jackson suffered a knee sprain. Defensive end Samson Ebukam is dealing with Achilles tendonitis. So Shanny says that the 49ers might get Bosa back and Trent Williams back. Jimmy Ward had a cast on his hand. Armstead is close to returning, but Shanahan said it's not going to be this week. And Kinlaw and Mosley will be moved to the IR. So there's just so many moving parts with this 49ers injury report. Take it away for us, Andy. Chiefs, Niners.
If Bosa, you got 3. Hufanga, Bosa, Williams. If 2 out of those 3 play and one of them's named Trent Williams, I'll just take the Niners straight up. Home game, they should be able to run the ball. I hate betting against the Chiefs, who actually looked really good. They put together a good game plan, but I don't think they held back. That was you got to see the best of the Chiefs against the Bills. That has to be a huge blow, knowing that you're probably going to have to beat that team in Buffalo now if you want to go to a Super Bowl at this point. It's not a big travel spot, but it is a road game here, and it's against a tough defense when they're healthy. If Hufanga clears protocol, and I really, really, really am leaning towards Bosa being in, God, it's going to be massive for a team that's going to be able to run on this Chiefs team. Niners money line. I'm not betting it now. I'm going to just wait for injury news because I don't. If I have to give up 5 or 10 cents on the money line, I'm not taking the spread here. I will just take the Niners straight up to win this. So losing the key number would suck if I was betting it the other way, but I'm gonna take the Niners here.
Well, I love it. I love it. There's so many moving parts to the injuries, so we'll be looking at it very closely. Sky Dragons already moved on the 49ers at +3. When these announcements are made, are you is the 3 long gone if Trent Williams is back?
If Williams and Bosa are both in, I think you'll see the 3 come down. Like, I should just look what it is at Chris right now. It's -10 both ways. And maybe, truthfully, if suddenly I hear news and all 3 are in and there's still a 3 at decent juice, I might bet both. I might do the old Asian handicap, half 3, half money line. Take a little both ways, but I am waiting on the news here.
Makes sense. This one's going to be really fun. Levi Stadium, Santa Clara, Sunday, 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Chiefs, Niners. Yeah, I think that we need that information. We need that information. Birdie says, no play for me. Not confident enough, even if 49ers get a few guys back. Can't fade the Chiefs off a loss. Niners coming home after that 2-week East that they get bombed at home next game historically. And that's what Mac Beavers was saying. The last 4 times San Francisco had 2 games on the East Coast, they came back home and lost. All right. Okay, so let's move on to the Sunday nighter. These next 2 games that we will be capping will be live betting right here on Pub Sports Radio. So I have extreme interest In 8:20 p.m. Eastern, Pittsburgh Steelers 2-4, 1-2 on the road at the Miami Dolphins, 3-3, 2-1 at home. We're at Hard Rock Stadium, Miami Gardens, Florida. 78 Fahrenheit, scattered thunderstorms, and 7 miles per hour. There's our guy Nut Flush Allen in the house. Great to see you, Nut Flush. Let's go over to the line history here for the Sunday nighter. You have the Dolphins opening up at -6. They're now at 7.5. So a big move towards the fish. From a totals perspective, it opened up at 44.5 as a pick'em. That 44.5 is now juiced to -116 to the over. So, yes, Tua is back for the game. Sun Dizzle. We have 4,299 tickets in. 52% of the tickets, 75% of the cash on the Dolphins. Then 30% of the tickets and 59% of the cash on the over. Steelers avoided their worst start in 34 years with the big 2018 home win over the Buccaneers. Kenny Pickett, 11 for 18 for 67 yards and a touchdown, then went into concussion protocol late in the third quarter. And as Andy talked about off the top of the show, Trubisky came in and was strong. I mean, he looked good. He looked better than he's looked all year. 9 of 12, 144 yards and a touchdown. Chase Claypool from Sun Dizzle's hometown of Abbotsford, British Columbia, caught 7 passes, 96 yards, and 1 touchdown. Najee Harris ran 14 times for 42 yards, caught 2 passes for 7. The defense bent but didn't break. So this, I'm still. What? How could they not? How could Brady not have been able to attack the secondary? They were missing Minka Fitzpatrick, safety. They were missing cornerbacks Cam Sutton, Levi Wallace, and Akila Witherspoon, and they held on. They sacked Brady twice. They hit him 5 times. The red zone defense was very good, holding the Bucs to 1 touchdown and 4 tries. They held Mike Evans to 4 catches for 42 yards. It was shock and awe and cost me the survivor pools. The Dolphins come in off a 24-16 loss at home to the Vikings. Skylar Thompson injured his thumb in the second quarter. Teddy Bridgewater came in, 23 of 34, 329 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. So it's the 4th straight game that the Dolphins starting quarterback was injured. Tagovailoa will go through practice this week, and he's expected to be the starter. He's going to go have all the first-team reps, and we expect him to be there. He's been out since week 4, the week 4 concussion against the Bengals. Dolphins averaged 27.6 points per game in their first 3 games with Tua, and they averaged 16 points a game in their next 3 games without him. Tyreek Hill, 12 catches for 177 yards. Jalen Waddle, 6 for 129. Mike Gesicki caught 6 passes for 69 yards and 2 touchdowns. Miami's offensive line, without starting left tackle Teron Armstead, did not look good. Then they lost right tackle Austin Jackson. They lost him in week 1 of the season, but having both of Austin Jackson and Teron Armstead out, they looked bad. They looked really bad. So Jackson's dealing with this high ankle sprain. They thought he could come back last week, but he's not back. Teron Armstead is supposed to be back this week, and they don't think that Austin Jackson will be back this week. But that's what happened to this offensive line. They lose. They could handle it losing Jackson, and then when they lost Armstead too, they were in big trouble. Take it away for us, Andy. Steelers, Dolphins, Sunday nighter.
I thought I'd want to weigh on this with the injury news with Pickett, Trubisky. I'm not sure it's a big adjustment either way. And yeah, I mean, most people are pointing out that this line is, I mean, it's all but confirmed Tua's playing. That's a step up. He should be fine. I'm not sure the last time I won a teaser, maybe week 3, but yeah, this is such a sexy teaser leg for me with the Dolphins getting a nice plus matchup here against a team that did overperform. I don't know if it was. I did give them credit. I don't have hope that this team is able to continue to do this, especially on the road. We saw what they did to the Vikings last year, where they put it at, hey, it's 120 degrees on the sideline for this other team. Similar, just a home game, getting this many points. I'm putting this in a teaser with, I mean, spoiler alert, the only other game left on the board. We'll get to that in a second. So, yeah, Pittsburgh, maybe Nut Flush pointing this out, coming out a little bit flat after that, beating up on Brady. This Miami offense, they don't have to. they don't have to do that much to get it going. And it was a really incongruous game, having to go from one quarterback to the other. And truthfully, they probably should have won that game. They kept Minnesota had 3 touchdown drives. The other 11 were 3 and outs. It's a very odd box score in this. So this is a 6-point teaser for me with, and like people are pointing out, it's probably going to be with New England. And by probably, I mean, I already bet that.
So when did you, so is it for our record keeping purposes, that Dolphins -1.5?
Yeah, it's 7, so it's not a true long teaser, but I don't give a shit anymore. I just love this one enough. So this is Dolphins 1, Patriots 2.
And interesting points going back and forth from the chat. Birdie says if it's bad weather, and it is possible that there is, because they have scattered thunderstorms. They are supposed to start around 5-ish. It's possible, but that's almost always the weather this time of year. It says if there's wind and Tua can't throw the football, Miami can't run the ball. Tua can't get exposed. Take the Steelers. Let this line climb.
Yeah, I don't think they have to go deep. I mean, we've seen this with if you have the proper game plan for Tyreek Hill, he doesn't have to be 40 yards down the field to get him the ball. Like if I'm McDaniel and I'm easing Tua back in, it's a lot of short stuff. Getting the ball in your explosive receiver's hands, not worrying about having to run the ball much. And yeah, I'm not letting Tua hold the ball for 5-7 step drops. I'm not throwing anything deep. It's going to be short. So yeah, Miami gets it done, but I'm going to tease this one.
Interesting. A lot of interesting points. I can't wait to live bet this game here on Pop Sports Radio. So I'm going to take more time capping it at this point. But so when we talk about the difference in points scored with Tua under center, so 27.6 points in the first 3 games, 16 in their next 3 without him. Do we go back to that number 27.6, or do we think that Tua won't want to leave the pocket, and as you said, he won't want to take too long before throwing bombs?
Well, and like I said, you see a lot of Tyreek's big plays aren't bombs. It's just getting him the ball in space. It can be bubble screens, it can be slants, it can be little up and outs. Like he doesn't have to be 40 yards down the field before he touches the ball. He's crazy dangerous, not because he's just so fast once he gets going. He's so fast off his first step. Like people constantly take bad angles on Tyreek Hill because it's just other people don't run that fast from a standstill. It's silly. So hopefully Tua's fully healthy here. I think they gave him lots of time. That was one of those things where he probably could have started last week.
Oh, he could have started last week. Yeah,
I think they gave him extra time and he's just fine.
Yeah, I agree and hope as well. Spenny Pennybombs had an 8-team teaser last week. It was a thing of beauty, and we enjoyed watching it cash. That last one with the Cowboys plus 12.5, and there was some nerves when it was 20-0. But great cash, Spenny. I loved it. Thank you for sharing that with all of us too. It's fun to watch our friends cash.
We had the second half over 20 in that one. Drew and I landed right on 20 because they went for too late.
Yeah,
it was and I'm fine with these teams going for 2 in the spots where it puts them up 9 or puts them up, by 3 scores. But I hadn't seen that one before to go up by 11. It was
either did I, and it was going to cost me my first live bet that I made, the under 44.5. So I thought I was in business odd. Still. I thought I was in business, and then they were going for 2, and I was like, oh, Jesus. Oh, my God.
Yeah, Birdie has a point. We'll see. So much of especially with knee injuries, you see that some players aren't the same. They say recovering from an ACL is half mental, like having the trust in your leg, the trust to get hit. We'll see. I don't know. Tua's been injured enough. I think he's fine going back out to war.
But yeah, no, it's an interesting point. He was just, it's too bad. It's too bad that the progress got stymied here, and I hope he gets back rolling again. But it's a very interesting point, Birdie, and your weather call. There's a lot to think about in the Niners game and the Dolphins game. There's so many moving parts here, especially with the Steelers secondary. There's a lot to think about. Let's move on to the Monday Nighter. Monday, October 24th, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. By the way, we are 8 days away from our next poker tournament with Bet Online. We are 8 days away, and we're going to have a real buy-in this time. $25. $25. We did the free roll last time. This time we're going to go $25. Bet Online going to add 10 tickets as well. $109 tickets to their $250,000 guarantee that is on the following Sunday. Let's talk about the Monday nighter here. Chicago Bears. Another highlight opportunity for this football team. Jeez, 2-4, 0-3 on the road at the Patriots, 3-3, 1-1 at home. Gillette Stadium, Foxborough, Massachusetts. 56 Fahrenheit showers, 4 miles per hour. Let's start with the line history here for the Monday nighter. We have the Pats opening up -7 at -105 at Pinnacle. They're now -7.5 at -114. From a totals perspective, it opened up at 38.5 and is now at 39.5. See the cash flow here for the Monday nighter. 5,510 tickets in, 79% of the tickets, 80% of the cash on the Patriots. Then you have 50% of the tickets and 89% of the cash on the under, yet it's gone up a point. The Bears average 15.5 points per game. Only the Broncos are worse. They average 122.8 passing yards per game. That is by far the worst. They're on extra rest and prep after their ugly 12-7 home loss on Thursday night. Justin Fields, 14-27 for 190 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He missed a few wide open receivers in very important situations. The Kmet spot was just horrific to watch. He also ran 12 times for 88 yards. The Bears ran 37 times for 238 yards. Khalil Herbert ran 7 times for 75 yards. Montgomery ran 15 times for 67 yards. Dante Pettis caught 4 for 84 and a touchdown. Mooney caught 7 for 68. And N'Keal Harry was a healthy scratch. And he's expected to make his Bears debut here against the team that drafted him in the first round in 2019. He suffered an ankle injury in training camp, required surgery, so he's expected to be in the lineup. The secondary completely shut down Wentz. Commanders passed for 99 yards. The Commanders won the game with 214 total yards. They held the Commanders to 2 for 11 on third down. God. The Patriots come in riding high with their second straight win with Bailey Zappi at quarterback. And Zappi, I don't want to see anybody else under center. I think part of it's that you have the Rookie of the Year ticket on him. That's just maybe.
Yeah, I know. I'd love to see him keep playing.
I would too. And I really want to see him keep playing. 24 of 34 for 309 yards and 2 touchdowns in the dominant 38-15 win at Cleveland. He's completed 72.9% of his passes. He has a rating of 111.4, which would lead the NFL if Zappi qualified. Devontae Parker, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Jacoby Myers all caught 60-plus yards. Ramondre Stevenson ran 19 times for 76 yards and 2 touchdowns. The defense was excellent. They held the NFL's leading rusher, Nick Chubb, to 12 carries for 56 yards. They had Brissett running for his life. They sacked him 4 times, hit him 8 times, picked him off twice. Kendrick Bourne left in the second quarter with a toe injury. And Christian Barmore was helped off the field with a knee injury. And Cody Davis also suffered a knee injury in the first half. So they do have some injuries. Can't wait to hear your breakdown again. We're going to be right here on Pub Sports Radio live betting this one. Take it away for us, Andy. Bears, Patriots.
Yeah, and it sucks that I'm going to have to shit talk Bailey Zappi. Because like I said, I don't want to see Breece Hall win because all my other tickets are on wide receivers, essentially. I need a wide receiver to have a big year or Bailey Zappi to go. So I'd love to see him continue to start. I think hopefully that's the case. We'll I guess time will tell. Bill Belichick's a tough nut to crack on getting information out. But temper your expectations on Bailey Zappi because he came in during the Packers game. That Packers defense is obviously a lot rougher than we thought. And they lost that game, but they pushed the Packers to overtime in a game where he had to step in cold. And then 29 against the Lions. But again, I don't know where you have the Lions defense and even just your mental rankings. It's not terribly high. This defense is super beatable. Teams have put shitloads of points up on the Lions. So a home game against the Lions scoring 29 is impressive, but again, it's not crazily impressive. And then like we talked about the Browns are quietly becoming one of the worst defenses in the league. So Zappy's done it against some bad defenses. Now, that said, we are not facing, the Philadelphia Eagles this week. It might just continue because the Bears are a bottom 5 defense too. This is a very beautiful defense. So it just kind of continues. And maybe if there's a case for Zappy to continue to have the reins of this team, it's just kind of dumb luck of the schedule getting to face 4 very beatable defenses in a row for him. Because I think he can absolutely continue to make hay against a Bears defense. And it's a bad defense. It's the worst offense that's not from Carolina. And actually, no, I have Carolina ranked worse as a team, but the Bears offense is slightly better than Carolina, which is something. But still, it's a bottom 5 defense, a bottom 5 offense. And it's a team we saw almost, what would they put up, 7? They got extra rest, but I'm not sure this really matters against a Belichick-led team. Like it's enough extra time for Belichick to scheme. Like a Belichick scheme versus a bottom 5 offense, a bottom 5 defense. This is why they're an 8.5 point favorite. I found an 8. I'm pretty happy to have that in the teaser, but this Bears defense is out of all those defense I've listed, probably the best out of any of them, and I still have them as a bottom 5 defense. So do what you want with this one, but I think this total is actually kind of low. Hopefully Mac doesn't come back. I don't trust him to have as much of an explosiveness to this offense, but Patriots kind of just do what they want. If they want to run Ramondre, it's going to work. If they want to throw some short stuff, they're kind of finding a little bit of a rhythm to this offense. And like I said, it's against bad defenses, but good. You know what good teams do? They beat bad teams. Devontae Parker and Hunter Henry are kind of getting into the thick of things. So it's a bad quarterback, a bad line, and no offensive pieces. So, yeah, I'm thinking this could be kind of ugly, just like a 31-3. Just it could get out of hand in a hurry if the Bears don't do anything again.
Now, would you have any more nerves if they decide Mac Jones is the starter?
I'm gonna be pretty pissed about that. I still think they win the game. I'm not worried about the teaser. I would be much less, I'd be more hesitant on Patriots covering, Patriots over, Patriots team total over. So it's still just Belichick against a horrible quarterback. Like he's going to be able to scheme Justin Fields into his damn grave here.
So what you got your teaser is Dolphins -1, Pats -2?
Yep.
Andy's teaser, Dolphins -1, Patriots -2.
And Mac Beavers brings up a good point. Belichick historically has had some problems against running quarterbacks, but I think you can just focus in on that. Like say, all right, we'll put a spy out. We'll keep extra linebackers up. We'll bring our safety up. If you want to beat us over the top with the receivers you have, give it a try. Give it a goddamn try, Justin. See what happens. So there could be some turnovers. We can have some short fields for New England. I think it's New England one-way traffic. This could be another bad primetime game where it's just like, it's 24-3 at halftime and nobody wants to watch the second half again.
Yeah, if Zappy's in, I think I might have to wait. I think I might have to wait just to ensure that Zappy's in and then move on. But I'm with you, and we'll be betting this live on the Monday night. Let's review all action here on Gridiron Gamblers. I am interested in the Saints. And I'll make a decision whether I pull the trigger. On Sunday, Andy gets his card started with the Bengals -6 at -108, and I'm really interested. I would like to be involved there. Then I'm looking at the Detroit-Dallas under. I'm also looking at the team total under for the Lions. That's probably going to be on my card tonight. It might need a little more time. I want the Titans and I want the Colts under, or the I want the Titans and the under in this game, but there was a lot of strong cappers liking the Colts in the chat, and it's helped me a lot staying off of the spots instead of going up against cappers that I respect. So maybe I'm going to give that more time. Washington and the under in the Packers Commanders game I'll be looking at that this evening. Then Andy gets his second look on the under 40.5 in Tampa Bay, Carolina. And I want in. Carolina and the Bears have the same team total at Bet365, both at 13.5. Very low. But I can understand why Nutflush is saying he's smashing that Bears team total under. Birdie, thank you for the kind words. I love that you guys cap with us here. It's just extremely enjoyable, and it's really the main reason why my record is the way it is. Let's keep rolling through now. Andy moved on the Jacksonville Jaguars first half -2.5, -107. I'm very interested in the Jaguars. And I'm not sure when to make the bet. And I also was not thinking first half until this show. Now I'm thinking that might be the right move because of what Daboll and Wink, Kafka, what the adjustments that they're making. Browns, Ravens, we have no action at this point, but the Jets, Broncos, the Broncos team total under and the under, but I have weight in capital letters here. So we want to find out.
I have that song in my head now.
Okay, sorry. All right, break it down for us, man.
Yeah,
Andy, you have the over 45.5 in Texans Raiders at -105. Seahawks Chargers, we have no action at this point, although Birdie on the Chargers. Chiefs Niners at this point. I want to know who is back for the Niners, and we spoke about that. The teaser for Andy is the Sunday night, Monday night special. Dolphins -1, Patriots -2 is the teaser for Andy. And I'm interested in the Patriots as well, but I want Zappy in there. I want Zappy in there badly. Coin, we appreciate you, my man. And Coin gave us what it looks like he has in his pocket already. Let me touch on those. I have them right here. Coin's on Washington +5.5. He's on the under 42.5 in the Jaguars game and the under 40.5 in that Panthers game. Thank you, Sun Dizzle, my man. Thank you, all of you guys. Danny Lopez, Leo Said It, Mac Beavers, Nutflush Allen, Terry Walker, Benjamin Mills, Rance, Fanatical Jim, Gerald Jones, Harold Williams. All you guys, thank you. Hoops 590, Papa Calls, Spenny Penny Bombs, Top Set. Thank you. Thank you for your insights. James S., Real Deal Prime. You guys are what make the show special. Sky Dragon. So thank you all. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to our producer of this show, Jose Bouquet, who does such a great job. And I want to make some money this week. Andy, my friend, any last words, Andy? Bet Spurts and the Deep Dive podcast. You got a lot of shows coming up this week. Any final words to the cappers supporting the show?
Yeah, I do a damn daily show too at 11:30 in the morning every day. So a lot of sitting here in the chair and yelling at the camera this week. But I'm excited for it because do you bet soccer, Jimmy?
I don't. But I will.
Like, I've been just trying to fill content time because I have a daily show, and I'm on like an 8-0 Champions League, Europa League run.
Mm-hmm.
Just bet, and I've bet nothing but overs. It's like all, and some of us are like over 3.5. It's like, just fucking, I'm taking it anyway. So I'm looking forward to the end of the week doing that. I'm looking forward to some of the smart folks I know that bet NBA to feed me some winners. I don't cap NBA. I couldn't possibly want to try to keep track of all that injury news every single night for 3 different slates. So I'm looking forward to some NBA action this week too.
Yeah, NBA back in action. It's going to be a fun week. We have the poker tournament next week, and then the week after that, the Breeders' Cup right here. So get your bankroll right for the Breeders' Cup Friday and Saturday, all day Friday, all day Saturday. I love it. Thank you so much, Andy. I enjoy this immensely. Nutflush Allen says, Andy, I got you covered on the boat in San Diego when you come out on your next vacation. Right there from our Nutflush Allen. Thank you guys all. Now it's week 7. We've had a great year, But 3 of the last 4 weeks, I've been negative units. So I got off to that enormous start, but I know the truth of the situation, and the truth of the situation is I need a winning week right here, week 7. So let's go out there and get the fucking cash. Thank you guys for joining us. Let's have a giant week 7.